It's mic 3, you said?
Yeah.
Hello, WAMH. This is Mom's Dead Mac of the electronic music collective Goth Girl Field Trip, and I'm gonna DJ for a little bit.
What? No way. Who's that?
I'm Sky, aka Mom's Dead Mac.
I'm Jada Cloud. AKA
Last name? I need to.
Oh.
No, you're good.
That's Sky Borax. I'm Jada Cloud. I'm one half of God is Watching and a member of Goth Girl Field Trip.
Michael Hansen, Michael the Generator, local person. It is a human design. It's a human design wave. Generator in the human design is someone who works off sacral energy. And the energy that I feel like I'm connecting to is very much like an energy that is for the people around me.
I guess like the closest thing that is like anything to me is Keen. And yeah, it's interesting. There's no scene for anything whatsoever there. So I just come down to Western Mass like every weekend and go to hardcore shows and like more recently more like raves and stuff.
Yeah.
So what's your name?
I'm Dakota. What's your name?
I'm Eve.
What's up, Eve?
So what brings you to your house on this here night at this here time?
So I played a set earlier.
Oh shit, that's probably on the way during that.
Yeah.
Well, what's your music name?
Dialogue Talk.
Word.
Dialogue Talk.
You can go nuts with voltages and like make sounds that you can't even imagine sometimes. Like it's crazy, and people not only like making it, like, you know, and getting together, but also like people like to hear it because it's like they're hearing things that they could never imagine on their own. You know, like you just go to this next level. It's crazy. That's what makes electronic music so community building. Like you have people that are like theory crafting and like designing new sounds, and then you have like people that want to hear crazy shit that they've never heard and can't hear anywhere else, you know? Yeah. It's sick. Especially Goth Girl Field Trip. Everyone in this is like super forward thinking and like how they make their music. Like with Molly, Jada, you know, it's just crazy. Like people, they push themselves and like sharpen each other in that way that steel sharpens steel, you know? It's cool. It's awesome.
I like met like Sky and Rory specifically. There's a couple parties that we used to throw down at the beach. And I think like connecting with them and reading the energy off of what they were interested in like bringing to electronic music changed how I thought the thing that I had was relevant. Because like it was adjacent for sure, but it wasn't like necessarily like feeding that central thing. Since then, I mean, I've known Dakota for a while. who just played. I think connecting in that space like a year, 2 years ago, and then sort of coalescing into the last couple months, which have been a lot of like recognition of like the overlaps in sound and ambition, and like the kind of integration of like kind of hard electronic music with like my sense of like figuring out how to bring groove and elements of groove energy in that way, has made like a really nice breeding ground for feeling comfortable doing the things I think that I was moving towards. Like I've always had hardcore influences or harder influences in electronic music, a lot of IDM shit that's like very like machine drum, Lorne, like on a very different tip than I feel like what a lot of techno, like hardstyle, like stuff like that exists. But like working a lot with like subtle grooves has always been like the energy, and it feels like it's welcome in the space. So that's why I'm here at Goth Girl Field Trip. Is like the energy I feel like Sky was willing to reciprocate, and like figuring out how to build something that makes room for like weirder, off-genre electronic music. Yeah.
Electronic music that captures like a hardcore energy.
Electronic palette, hardcore ethos is our motto we've been playing with.
Yeah. And we're bringing that to Western Mass, which has a lack of that.
I mean,
it's there, but it's not
there.
It's not like super focused.
But Western Mass likes heavy music. Like there's like the potential for that here.
I mean, I've been going to hardcore shows. There's a really prominent, focused hardcore scene here. So I was like introduced to that.
It's a feeling. It's when stuff feels heavy, when you just feel like overcome with like what I'm talking about when I say heavy electronic music, hardcore electronic music. I mean like stuff that feels like that just makes you want to start fucking swinging, you know, in the pit. Like that like takes over your body and you feel so overwhelmed with this feeling of I don't think there's not really a word for it. Like there's like rage is part of it, but it's not like about the anger or the violence, but like channeling that for sure, that's in there. But like the word is just heavy, you know, when someone's like, oh my, like holy fuck, that was an amazing drop, you know, when it's just like you want to, you're just like beat the shit out of someone, you know. Our work in progress motto is like hardcore ethos, electronic palette. So we're trying to take the emotionality and the way that people relate to hardcore, as in like hardcore punk, and then and translate that into an electronic setting, and that kind of looks like heavy electronic music and stuff, like, you know, stuff that you can mosh to, that you can really feel the brutality in.
God is watching. Yeah!
What, I mean, you could make music with anybody. What about Jada makes making music exciting? Especially with the project that you have God is watching?
I don't know. I feel like Jada and I just had very like similar ideas for what music should be and like how it should make us feel and like what we wanted to get out of it. And I feel like they're playing our song right now, and we wanted to like, I don't know, just like share that and make that together.
Yeah. That's a wave.
And how does God is watching want music to make you feel?
I don't know. The way that we make it is we make it to feel just like visceral, like emotion. I don't know. I feel like in my production specifically, I'm like trying to make the noise sound as much like my personal like feelings and like experience in living as possible.
And this is like asymmetric. This is like, at least as far as I've heard it, it's not necessarily about it being on beat in a format or a genre as much as, which is because you guys have like, I feel like stuff that's like across the board as far as like how it hits your ears, you know what I mean? Yeah, what is genre? I mean, obviously like we're in like a very kind of volatile state as far as what genre, like especially everyone in Goth Girl. But yeah, what's your relationship to genre?
I don't know. Jada and I kind of like treat genre as a joke. Like whenever people ask like, what genre is your music, we say something different because like there's no like way to. I don't know. There's no point in like fucking putting it in a box like that. I don't know. You could say it's like digital hardcore, but then that's like not capturing like the full essence. Like sometimes Jada and I will come up to each other and be like, I captured it, and then we say like a list of like Spotify daylist terms, but it's like genre's bullshit, and like I don't know, it's a joke. I just think you should come up with as many words as possible that like go with the vibe, and that's your genre.
And that's people said to be like genre is important because it lets people know where you're coming from. And I was like, if they want to know where I'm coming from, they'd listen to the music I'm making. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was saying also that's how like new things like Goth Girl Field Trip, but because we took aspects of like other genres and like cultures, we kind of like made a new thing from all that stuff.
Yeah. Making a new thing comes with a disrespect to the things that have come before. I think if you're a traditionalist and you're not willing to, if you treat everything that's come before you with a level of respect and reverence, to the point of not being able to play around with it, I don't think you can really make new things. I thought it was like funny to be like appropriating genre terms that I don't care that much about genre in the first place, and I think it's like funny to be taking it and just like rendering it meaningless and making it just like an aesthetic, like a superficial thing. I think that's funny.
I feel like a lot of Goth Girl Field Trip is the success story of believing that like genre is a petty distraction and energy is where the thing is, you know?
possibility of cooperative intelligence. Being an artist, you hear a lot of talk about genius, which is the process of singling out certain people in art history and saying those were the important ones, Picasso, Rembrandt, Shostakovich, whatever. Whenever you look at any of those artists, you find that they lived and drew from a very, very active, flourishing cultural scene. And they were only one of the elements in that scene. All these people who are called genius actually sat in the middle of something that I call scenius.
I think like what the space needed was acceptance to exist. You know what I'm saying? The space, there was like a degree of I mean, Molly who's playing right now, like, doesn't really, it's like kind of too like hyper and energetically all over the place for like a techno night, but would fit in, you know. Meanwhile, like God is Watching is like really playing with like how deep can you go, like how how dismembered can you make the sound that's coming out, and like how much can you like attribute it to still like the feeling, the emotional, the engaged energetic space, like the feeling like there's something happening but it's moving so slow or so fast, and like the arc and like the ramp is so, you know what I'm saying, how can you draw those things together and like feel comfortable bringing your shit to the table. I mean, the acceptance of quote-unquote off-genre makes those things happen together, you know, the like belief that like, okay, there's this general aesthetic that means something, that's worth something to associate with each other over. It's like, I think the thing that's like forming and coalescing, and it's funny, it's like, does it happen in a person or does it happen in a mutual recognition of people is like a strange question to ask, you know?
How are you feeling today, Molly? I was on my computer constantly, like walking to and from class on my computer, like fucking with synths and stuff. And I just like taught myself sound design, like through trial and error, basically. And then I was like, okay, I want to start like playing shows and like reach a wider audience. And so like kind of the only I've been hearing about Goth Field Trip like from like around at different shows, and also like online I had seen some of their stuff, and they seemed like sort of the only real like way to enter a digital kind of scene, and so I just DM'd Sky and I was like, hey, could I join Goth Field Trip? And I sent a bunch of demos, and yeah, now it's, you want to get I don't know how many shows I've played now, but it's been like a good few, and like I don't know, it's just been like a dream come true, kind of like the past few months, like playing and being like a part of the actual scene. It's been like very cool.
So that's like on the inside of Goth Field Trip, the people who you can share the stress with and the adventure with, but also on the outside, creating community for people.
Goth Girl 12. Goth Girl 12. Goth Girl. We're gonna funnel you upstairs.
So cool. Like, I know people who met their partner at a Goth Girl field trip, made some of their greatest friends.
Matchmakers.
Least of all, yeah. You know, especially myself. I've met so many people who. More people who are like me than at any other point in my life through doing this.
I was really lonely before I joined like the hardcore scene, and like especially before I started making music, and like especially before Goth Girl Field Trip, because like I didn't know
For like the longest time, I wanted to know other creative people who were like driven to do this, and that like having music out and like performing and being part of the collective has like granted me that. Honestly changed my life.
They're my shit. It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. They're all moving.
Yeah, I'm saying is like usually there isn't space. There isn't fucking space for the music that we make.
Yeah.
And I am excited that we are creating that space for ourselves. Period. Period.
Real shit.
That makes me so glad. That makes me so happy. Yeah. That's I don't know. There's like this assumption that there would be, right? And there isn't. That makes me fucking happy. Yeah. I'm sort of realizing it like as I'm saying it, but like there really is no fucking space for us to do the thing that we do. As far as we see it, as far as there is what there is around, and like consciously deciding that there's room for it to be played and expressed, and like for us all in our respective spaces and the combined studio spaces that we have, to like know, okay, like we can make something and have it be received by people is crazy. Is crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. People assume that like you could just play at the local whatever, you know? It's like, tell me the bar that will fucking have Molly fucking rip their stage to shreds, you know?
You're existing outside the what society allows, and in doing that together, there's a very powerful feeling and a feeling of independence, and a rejection of all of the bullshit that we don't want to put up with in society. Yeah.
And I think that's really important too, for especially like queer people. Like, because queer people, and especially like trans people, are like so already pushed to the like edges of society. Like, we don't have a lot of spaces that we can really call our own. I go to a Goth Girl field trip, and I don't have to worry about like how I express myself, like the clothes I wear and the music I make, you know, and to be able to cultivate that is really, honestly, it's really like I feel proud of myself and proud of my like peers for being able to do that and bring that to people.